cord.
Our next segment is table topics. Never daunted, we cannot falter. In the battle, we're tried and true. Indiana, our Indiana. Indiana, we're all for you. Woo woo. Scott will soon be saying goodbye to the Sunshine State and officially join the ranks of the Hoosiers.
Who?
That just doesn't sound appealing. This makes Jeremy very, very sad. But today isn't about Scott leaving, it's about celebrating the good times, and today's table topics will be meant to emphasize that. Please help me welcome our table topics master, Jeremy Udall. Who is also our birthday boy today.
Oh, yeah.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jeremy. Woohoo! Happy birthday to you.
Make a wish.
Make a wish.
He wishes he wasn't 40.
There's no candles to blow out, dude.
He wasn't 40.
Yes, yeah. I have to say, I feel a little bit like Bill Lumberg right now. Thank you very much for that. That was a very quasi-inspiring singing, and I really appreciate that. Now I'm hoping that there's plenty of cake at the end. But I am a little sad today on my birthday. I mean, this being the last meeting for Scott. And I realized that underneath the sadness, there was also a little bit of anger. It was very frustrating, I realized, to feel and not know what it was. And as I thought about it, it occurred to me, there's a lot of deja vu here. Do you guys remember doing this before? Some of you won't, but some of you may remember. We went to a roast for Scott once before. Of course, it was at Winter Park, and it was really mean, but it was a roast for Scott. We had a big goodbye meeting for Scott. We even took a picture in front of the banner, which, by the way, everyone stay at the end. We're going to take a picture in front of the banner for Scott's going away. He'll have 2 going away pictures from the Articulators. And we even did a little goodbye party for Scott last time. Boy, Scott, we love you so much. And then you came back. And obviously we didn't shower you with enough love coming back, so you decided to leave us again so that we could all do this again. I can't keep going through this, buddy. Next time you come back, and you will come back, you will stay here. I can't handle this anymore.
So dramatic.
Oh. With that, what's one important lesson you've learned while being a member of the Articulators? Terrell.
One of the most important things I've learned is actually from Scott. I just want to take a minute to talk about these little slips right here, these pieces of paper. Scott always takes the time to fill one out and give it to people who speak. And it doesn't seem like a big deal, but when you speak and you get that kind of feedback beyond your written evaluation, I don't know about you, but I go and sit in my car and I unfold every piece of paper and read it. And it's very satisfying, and you always have good criticism, but you always have very nice words of wisdom. And I'll always remember that about you. And it's something that will be a little bit of your legacy, because ever since you've done that for me, I always try to take the time to provide feedback for other people. So keep hearing all these words mentioned: role model, leader, and mentor, and you've definitely left a lasting impact on people, I'm sure, in even more profound ways. But know that when you're gone, everybody will be getting lots of feedback because you give me so much great feedback. So thank you.
Tell us about a time Toastmasters helped you out in the real world. Josh.
I remember the very, very first time I came to Toastmasters. 2 days before that, I had an interview, and I was extremely nervous. I was sweating, I was pumped up, I was actually throwing punches and listening to pump up music just to get it all out of my system. Funny thing, this was just a phone interview. It wasn't even in person. But I was so wound up. And I remember laying at night on a Wednesday at 11:30 thinking, how the heck am I gonna meet new people, make new friends? How am I gonna get a new job if I can't even do this interview? I was scrolling through Meetup and I found this group, Toastmasters. Specifically, Altamonte Articulators.
Woo woo!
I remember showing up, I think you were speaking at the time, Michelle, and everyone was so welcoming, and it was just lovely. I remember reflecting back on that at my current place of employment when I was giving a speech to a whole bunch of new counselors. They actually had questions for me about treatment plans and how do we do this and what kind of technical things for that. I'm not super familiar with the medical side of treatment plans. I can tell them how to use the software, but I don't know their day-to-day. And I kind of went into that meeting sort of as prepared as I could be, but not 100% sure what their questions would be, what kind of issues they were having. And I remember standing in front of that group of people thinking, I'm actually not nervous. I'm fine. I'm really comfortable with this. If I don't know, I'll just say I'm not sure, and I'll check on it. And all the other answers, I can kind of coax it out of them and get through it. How fortuitous that I found this club on that day. It entirely changed my life. And it was absolutely applicable to the real world. It totally changed my demeanor when I'm talking to people in public. And I can't believe we're losing such a fantastic member. Scott, I really hope you find and make a great club in Fort Wayne, Indiana. It'll be one of the best 10 there are over there.
Tell us about your first day at the Articulators. Marvin.
It was a cold, stormy morning. No, wait, that's not that story. It's always hot here in Florida, except for today. It's gonna be in the 40s. So it seems like Fort Wayne, Indiana, weather is coming here temporarily. It's attracting you, getting acclimatized. I remember my first day. I don't know how I found the Articulators. It was probably Meetup as well. It might have been at 11:30ish at night as well. But that first day I went to this place called the Breakfast Club. It no longer exists. It's gone. But I came in with the nice fresh smell of bacon and eggs, things that I don't eat now because I get massive indigestion. But I came in, we had a nice little fish bowl where we could, our own separate room. And it was always very welcoming. Same thing that Josh had experienced. I had the fortuitous pleasure of being there. And I happened to be there that day when somebody was leaving. It was in 2015. I was like, oh, I'm coming and somebody's going. This is deja vu all over again.
Yeah.
And I saw the speech that they gave about Scott, and I was like, wow, this guy seems like a pretty good guy. I wish you could have known him a little bit more. At the end of the meeting, I gave up and shook his hand, very friendly. And this person is leaving some big shoes to fill. I mean, literally, look at his. At least he doesn't have little hands, so. But Scott, I really appreciate all the feedback. I also agree with Taro in the fact that you always give us positive, encouraging feedback, and something that I'll miss, but I know we have the rest of us, and you've taught us all well as well. And we're still connected on Facebook, so I'll be seeing you online.
Why do you think everyone could benefit from Toastmasters? Brett.
I think that everyone could benefit from Toastmasters because I listen to a lot of shows, watch some videos online, hear people talk. And I remember specifically, I was listening to a after talk show in relation to some form of media, and the usual host that's there, like usually very calm, very professional, like has a good back and forth, had last minute called out. So they got one of the production assistants to come in, and they were there sitting at the couch. It was very nice, very lovely show, and I still had some funny moments, but I could not stop hearing the word "like" being said every 5 seconds because they were not comfortable in front of a camera or speaking. And to be fair, there was maybe like a couple thousand people watching at the time. That's a pretty nerve-wracking experience. But like, I just can't it was like dinging me like for all these likes that I'm like saying like, ugh, drove me up a wall. And the one thing I remember hearing is like, that was real. That was real. You can dig me on that one. The one thing I remember thinking at the time was, oh my God, if only they had stopped and taken a Toastmasters course. And one of the first pieces of advice that I got from Scott after my first speech, it's on a little fold-out thing because I kept a lot of those, was, hey, that was a really good icebreaker. You got a lot of potential. Try to use the word "like" less. And, like, I think I'm getting it. I don't know. But yes, Toastmasters can help everyone because learning how to speak better is how I got my job. Being able to talk off the cuff informally at an interview, or being able to prepare a speech in front of people and say it in a calm, professional demeanor, and be able to share thoughts and experiences like this, like saying that without using a bunch of filler words and stuttering over everything. It's really, really helpful. Really puts you above the rest of the interview applicants whenever people go to interview for a job.
For sure. Scott, it's clear you've made an impact on so many people here. You've given us so much. I was trying to think about all that you've given me, and it's really hard to quantify. A lot of things we've all gotten from you, but I've known you a long time, and I feel like there's things you've given me that I can't even put into words. I was trying to think of a way to show everyone what Scott's given me that is totally unique. Something no one else even has. And here it is. This Indian head trophy. I want the camera to see. This is, you participated in Table Topics trophy at the district. Scott, as usual, was at the district contest, and he'd received a lot of trophies in the past, and at every district contest, they give everyone who makes it that far a trophy just for being in it, which is redundant since they already have a division winning trophy, which is the same basic premise. You won your division, here you are here. That must mean you already have a trophy, but no, we give you another one. And in this case, it was a Mel Brooks conference. They decided this Indian head, which is sort of kind of representative of one little piece of Blazing Saddles, which is a Mel Brooks movie, would be a wonderful thing to hand out to all of the Table Topics participants. And Scott, being Scott, completely disagreed and told me that this was going to be the next trophy of many that had ended up in the garbage because he just didn't have room for it. And I said, no, Scott. I have sat here with you so many times. This will be my memorial of sitting with Scott every time he goes to the district and gets upset because he only finished second, or that one time when he beat the guy who wasn't quite good enough to beat him, Oh, who was that?
Who was that?
That was the time I also sat next to Scott, but this, no one else has this. And no one else has a Scott Brown. I'm really lucky to have had so much from you in my life, Scott. But I have one more table topic question to leave on as I bring back up our Toastmaster. Michelle, what do you think someone who was maybe leaving the Articulators for a while could take with them to other clubs wherever they go? Michelle Detlef, everyone.
What can you take with you, Scott? Well, none of us want to go with you, first of all. You're kind of on your own. We don't even know what a Hoosier is. Nobody here likes snow. Good luck with that. But what you can take with you is the memories, the trophies. Nice.
Yeah.
We want the ribbons back.
All of them.
You may never need to buy ribbons again at that.
I know. You know how much they are.
They'll be in the mail.
Once they get unpacked for the 89th time. This club has a long-standing history of excellence. Scott, when you joined this club, you raised that bar.
Yeah.
We had only had one member make it to any type of division level contest. And now when I see the competition within the club, it's amazing because you're right, we are the wind to each other's sails. You can lift each other up, or you can be Jeremy and tear you down. Not sure what's going on there. Y'all used to be friends, so make me whip out my mama bear. But bring that level of encouragement to your next club that I hope has more than 2 members on a non-snowy day. Really? You're timing me on this?
Yeah, it's a table topic.
But I'm sure they're not going to count.
Everyone qualified.
So you can pay.
I love the element of professionalism that you've brought to our club. I love the element of love that you have brought to the club. One of the things, and a lot of us here have been to other clubs within the district and even outside the district. And one of the things that we have all seen are cliques, a little bit of infighting, and just, they're boring. We've even had guests who've come to our meeting to check us out, which is great. And then they tell us, you know, it wasn't a hard decision. Been to other clubs and they don't have the energy. Poor Scott. Do you know he drives almost an hour to get here in the morning? I think that's another zip code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another county.
Another county. That's what I meant to say. Another county. Another county.
That's a lot of zip codes.
It's a lot of zip codes. Yeah, you're right. It's another county. But he's never missed a meeting because he doesn't feel like getting out of bed. You're definitely irreplaceable, but luckily, you'll be back. Oh, that was fun.
Are we voting on that?
Are you voting on
How do you vote on anything today?
Let's vote for table topics.
Yes. Vote for
Not Jeremy. Josh, do you mind doing a recap of table topics? No times, please, just a recap.
Yeah.
Yeah, bag the time thing.
Bag the time thing.
DCM.
What's it face I have all again? Timer?
We had,
Everybody qualified.
yeah, everybody qualified. We had Terrell's speech. I didn't actually jot down the topic. I think I was so frazzled this morning.
Just recite the names too much.
Yeah.
I'm still I don't know what happened this morning. I'm frazzled. I actually forgot to time her speech entirely until the last 10 seconds.
You're on
Come here,
time.
you graduated. Right, Scott?
Absolutely.
Myself with the real world, Marvin's speech, Brett, and Michelle.
Thank you. Vote. Please vote and send your vote over to Juliet. Our next segment is our general evaluation segment.
Scott's gonna speak.
No.
Listen,
She's
who's
running the
in
meeting.
charge
I'm sorry.
here?
He's the
Aaliyah is thankful that she was chosen to be general evaluator this morning in hopes that she provides great feedback for the meeting. Please help me welcome Aaliyah Freya.
What are we doing? She's asking.
Okay, alright.
She's got it. She's got it.
Do I?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous. But, alright, so yeah, I am general evaluator and I'm also first evaluator as well. So I'll introduce myself.
Hi.
Hello, I'm Aaliyah. I'm first evaluator. And it's nice to meet you. I hope you met other Aaliyah who was general evaluator. She's also really nice. But here, I will enter into my evaluation segment now. It was interesting to see this type of, I don't think I've ever seen a speech given like 3 people at a time, and I was like, oh my god, so much roast, and I'm like, dang. Are you okay, Scott? That was a little harsh. But as the 2 men who came up, they were using the podium, but Effie, no, she came up. She's like,
Yeah.
Go up here. I'm like, sorry. Yeah, exactly. Girl power. Girl power. But I do recommend Don and David, you don't need the podium. And you don't need notes. Come on. Effie showed you. Come on. You don't need, just, I recommend ditching the notes. Because, I mean, you know these memories so well. You're speaking from memory. And things you've done in, like, the past and stuff. So, I guess it's a guidance thing to, like, kind of show you where you're going. And you don't want to lose your train of thought. And you're like, oh, my God, I forgot to say this and that. And that happens to me all the time.
Yeah, they want
But-
my fire to get out of control and over roast.
Yeah, over roast. You don't want to over roast. Okay, that's acceptable, I guess. But besides that, all 3 of you were awesome and like, oh my gosh, it's hard for me to evaluate people who are much like better at speaking because especially like how Brett says how he uses like way too much. I'm one of those people. Not only do I use it in speeches, but I use it in my modern lingo, like when I talk to people, and I use it when texting too. Like it's hard for me to stray away from that. I'm trying, guys. I am really trying. Yeah, it's like, hey, like LOL. That type of stuff, emojis. But besides that, I truly, you guys truly inspired me, and especially Scott as well. You guys always come up here without like notes sometimes, and then without notes sometimes, but you never like get nervous. I'm like, do you feel the butterflies in your stomach like I do? I don't know, but
It's the Denny's.
it's the done. Well, I need to stop getting so nervous and flustered and all that. But you guys truly teach me a lot, and there's not much like errors I saw throughout your speech, so thank you. With that, I will call Michelle back. Or?
No, you're
Ron?
Ron's got
Oh.
some statements.
Oh, I did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Oh.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Ron. Please welcome Ron.
Give your thoughts on the roast, man.
I love the roast. John, I don't know if you practice roasts a lot. You know, the notes you had, my goodness, those are those are better than Comedy Central. I watch a lot of roasts. Those are some zingers and so forth. And Epi, you could have gave Scott's speech on the your memory was impeccable.
Yeah.
You could have recited that whole thing, and David, again, with the whole bringing Jeremy up here and so forth, that was great. All those speeches were well prepared, even the prepared table topics, I'm assuming. I mean, okay. Those speeches were great too. But I would like to say, I mean, I had nothing prepared. I didn't even know I was speaking here. But I would like to say thanks to Scott too. He's helped me a lot. Since the day one I came here, he welcomed me, and the little notes, just like Terrell said, were great. You don't get those from everyone, but I always really pay attention to what Scott says. I mean, I listen to everybody, but I want to know what Scott is saying.
Like, what's going on here?
I love y'all. And I'm still going to lean on you. I'm sure there's an Allegiant Air flight that goes up to Fort Wayne, Indiana for $70. And he's helped me out with stuff outside Toastmasters. I can't thank you enough for that, Scott. And I haven't been part of this club for as long as you guys and known Scott as long, but he's really made an impact, and I appreciate all you do. And it's not the end, I can tell you that. I'll still be reaching out to you. So with that, thank you.
The moment we have all been waiting for. John Bingham once said, "The miracle isn't that what are you doing?" The miracle isn't that I finished, it's that I had the courage to start. At one point or another, all of us in this room today displayed the courage to take a step forward, to do what scared us, to start a journey we knew we needed to take, but we didn't know where it would lead. For the better part of 6 years, we've walked side by side, helping each other, encouraging each other, challenging each other. But today, for the second time in 3 years, he's abandoning us. Oh wait, our paths diverge. Stick to the script. It's time for Scott to commence a journey that he knows not where it leads, but because of us, he's ready to take it. A journey towards the snow, the cold, Fort Wayne, Indiana. Fort Wayne, Indiana. Fort Wayne, Indiana. Before he bids us a ta-ta for now, Scott wants to share his dreams for the Articulators, our shared commencement. Please help me welcome our very own traveling Wilbury, Scott Brown.
So I'm really not moving. I just really wanted another day dedicated to me. That's really what this is all about. I love John Bingham because he's a back-of-the-pack runner. He's a guy that runs races not to win, but because to him the journey is far more important than is the outcome. And I love that about his writing, and I love that about the concept of running, because not everybody can come in first place. I know that more than anyone. The second place winner is... And I haven't always been a gracious loser.
What are you talking about?
I own it. I own that. But in the second go-around with Articulators, I learned something here that I hope all of you can take from my experiences. And it's a very simple concept. The Articulators is founded upon 4 little words. How can I help? How can I help? When you reach out and you help somebody else, that is the moment that you free yourself from the expectations of the win and the loss, and allow yourself to just be immersed in the journey, to be able to look around at the faces that are walking beside you and appreciate what they give to you and what you have the opportunity to give to them. How can I help? My time here has taught me that it's not about the win and the loss. And it's easier to say when you've won. But I've learned that it's about the shared journey. There's 3 things that I want articulators to take away from my time here that I hope that you've learned from my lessons here, that I hope above all that I've been able to teach you, and I want you to remember these 3 things. The first is that we are built upon shared stories. We have a plethora of shared stories out there. And the stories that we tell within the club are not dissimilar to the stories that we tell to ourselves. Because we are our most important audience. We are always listening to what we have to say. The shared stories that we have can either lift us up or hold us down. And I remember hearing when I first made my first run through the district tournament, at the evaluation contest, that Jeremy voluntold me I needed to do. I remember Michelle saying, nobody's ever made it to the finals.
Yeah.
That's the greatest thing in the world. But now look at where we've become. Look at the success that we've had. Not only have I made it to the finals, but so has Jeremy. So has John. We have 2 people competing at division in evaluations and 1 in speech on the 9th of December. That's not a story that we could share, and it's only because the stories you told yourself are about stories of what you can do, not about the stories of what you can't do. At the end of every journey, you may get a trophy, but this is not what's most important. What's most important is to realize that this is merely a benchmark and a stepping stone for what lies beyond, what lies within the next step. I would have never been able to win that if Jeremy and I had not sat out front of Denny's hatching this inane plan that both of us wanted to make the district finals and finish first and second. How can I help? How can I help pick Jeremy up so that the 2 of us can do something that no club has ever done? How can I help? And the second thing I want you to take with us are all of the artifacts. Now, artifacts aren't just trophies and aren't just ribbons, but they're all the things that we use to showcase what we're about. We are the club that closes restaurants. And ironically, the one restaurant that probably should be closed is the one that we keep in business.
Thank God the door's closed.
Right? What you're taking with you is indigestion. But you're also taking with you not just the shared stories, but also the relationships that you've been able to gather. You're taking with you the agendas that you collect, the little notes that you keep, the phone numbers that you store in your phone, and the ability to reach out and say, thank you. And how can I help? Because that's what it's all about. And the third thing, and I think the most important thing that I want you to take from my experiences here, are that at one point all of us are going to walk through this door one last time and leave. And it's sad. But when you do, I want you to remember this. You helped. Because when I walked through the first time, I was not the person I am when I walked through the last time. There's something magical when you are willing to be vulnerable to relationships, to be vulnerable to stand up here and bare your soul, to be vulnerable to say, I need help, I don't know, I want to get better. This is a club and this is a group that together we have been the sails that raise all, has been the tide that raises all ships. We've been the sail that helps us move forward. This is a club that's unlike any other club. And I will not find this club in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Usually I will barely find any club. But what I will take most from here is your willingness to help, your gratitude to help. All of you had the most fortuitous opportunity at one point to find this incredible misfit of people that together have become a Thursday morning family. We bicker and we argue, but we also love and we help. There's nothing more that you can do in life that's more important than to reach out and tell somebody, I'm here. I'm here to help. I'm only moving. I'm not dying. So if you need my help, call Jeremy. Reach out to me. Phones, I understand, still work in Fort Wayne. There are carrier pigeons trained to find me in Fort Wayne. And I believe with a good wind, smoke signals will reach me in Fort Wayne. But more than anything, while there may be miles between our smiles, there will never be distance between our hearts. Thank you.
I hope our grammarian wrote that down. That was good.
Yeah.
Yes, David.
Mr. Toastmaster, I suggest that the first speakers come in first out of tradition and give Scott second.
That's a very fortuitous, self-serving statement. Didn't expect anything less. A little healthy competition in the club. We have one final segment.
She has a mic.
Oh, okay. Thank
Going
you.
back and forth.
Sorry, How can any one person adequately evaluate a speech given by the District 84 evaluation champion? Alas, Thomas does not feel adequate for this monumental task. Therefore, given the enormity of this burden, I, Sir Thomas Isaac, District Toastmaster, and the President.
Distinguished Toastmaster.
Oh, distinguished, yeah. And the President of Club 6193, the Articulators, I, who rule by fiat and with an iron fist. Wow. I hereby relieve the timer of his or her duties.
Anyway, so.
Because the arbitrary time limits established by Toastmasters International will not apply to this evaluation. It's written right here, so be it.
Yeah, compromise.
That is by Sir Thomas Isaac Lake.
Yes. How does one person, one lowly articulator, Toastmasters, distinguished Toastmaster, as might add, evaluate someone who was the champion District 84 evaluator? It can't be done by one person.